This is not getting discussed on the mainstream media. Not only are they wrong legally, but the fact that they would do this is outrageous. This is an overreaction and really nonsense. How would you react if this was your son or your daughter? It's the offense of knowing the truth. It's the offense of having an alternate worldview. Saying God bless you to someone is not a violation of the law. Welcome to the broadcast, everyone. This is a very special edition of our television broadcast. We've been handling a case out of Iran involving a pastor named Saeed Abedini. He has been in jail in Iran since September. He's an American citizen. He's a Christian pastor. He came from Iran, was born in Iran, was back visiting family, helping to start an orphanage, and he ended up in jail in the notorious Iranian Prison, where he currently is facing and now has an 8-year sentence, which in that prison is effectively a death sentence. The story first broke on Fox News' Hannity. Let's take a look.
A 32-year-old American pastor, the Reverend Saeed Abedini, has been detained by one of Iran's most notorious prisons since late September for charges that have not been made public, other than the fact that he is a convert Christian. Now, the Reverend was born in Iran. He was granted U.S. citizenship in 2010 after marrying an American woman. Since then, he has traveled back to Iran to visit family multiple times, but has often been questioned by police for his Christian work throughout the country. Now, he is being held physically and emotionally abused and could face a lengthy prison term or possibly even the death penalty. Now, the American Center for Law and Justice has gotten involved in the hopes of having him released. So where's the Obama administration? Where's the UN? Where's the State Department? Joining me now to share their story is the wife of the Reverend Naghmeh Abedini, and from the American Center for Law and Justice, Jay Sekulow. Thank you both for being with us. Naghmeh, let me start with you. This is obviously he's gone back and forth here. Had little problems, but not big problems. What happened in this case that was different?
I believe that this time the Revolutionary Guard has been handling Saeed's case, and previously the intelligence police was. And I believe the recent change from the intelligence police to the Revolutionary Guard has changed the way they've been treating Christians and Christian activities in Iran.
Right. Well, Jay, not very different from what we see happening. Coptic Christians are being persecuted in Egypt. Right. A lot of Christians in the Muslim world. This is not uncommon. It's happening more and more, as a matter of fact, as we see the rise of radicalism. What have you found out in this particular case? Do you have access to him?
Well, his lawyers have been denied access to him, actually, in Iran, and the real troubling thing is, first of all, we're talking about a U.S. citizen, and Sean, you mentioned early on that we have not had State Department help right now. We are now, this is the first time this has gone public. This story came out today. Lisa Daftari posted it on FoxNews.com. She's a Fox News contributor and been working with Tiffany Behrens from our office. What we've got right now, Sean, is a situation not unlike Youssef Nadarkhani, who was eventually released, and it's going to take international pressure. His crime, the crimes that are being alleged here, of course, are not public. They have not indicted, but it's because he's a Christian. And they have cracked down, as you said, these Islamic regimes have continued to crack down, whether it's in Iran or in Egypt. The Coptic Christians in Egypt having an awful time. But in this particular case, we've got the unique situation that we have a U.S. citizen. And we've got a U.S. citizen that's being detained in a horrible facility, jail, in Iran, and we've got to do everything we can globally to get him released, because right now, Sean, the situation is grave for anybody put in this situation. But again, we've got a U.S. citizen who is being not only penalized, but held not only against his will, but you don't know what's happening to him. His wife, you're talking to right now, and family are missing their husband. It is Christmas. This administration, our administration, the Obama administration, needs to come out publicly. They can do it through various sources that deal directly with Iran, and we are asking governments that deal with Iran to do just that.
When's the last time you've spoken to your husband?
Actually, it was this morning, by some miracle. He called his family's house in Iran, and they were able to call from another cell phone, and we got to speak through phone to phone, and he was desperately wanting to hear our kid's voice.
Yeah, and
he got to...
Go ahead. And what did he say? Was he able to talk? I assume he was being monitored.
Yes, he was. You know, he's been hoping for the last few months to at least try to get out on bail. He's gone through some harsh treatments there, and he had me put the phone on my daughter's ears, and she was half asleep. It was 5 in the morning, and he told her, Daddy loves you, and she'd been wondering for weeks and weeks if he'd grown a beard, and she'd missed hearing his voice. She said, Mommy, I'm forgetting Daddy's voice.
How do you know
and
that he's
so
being...
He got to,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
he got to say, Daddy loves you, and I do have a beard. It's grown out pretty big, so he got to talk to her, and he was pretty happy about that. It lasted a few minutes.
How do you know he's being abused, besides the fact that he's being held against his will and persecuted for religious reasons?
We've had a few phone-to-phones, and a few weeks ago he told me there's prisoners hurting him, and there was a couple of rounds of interrogators. The second round had hit him and had physically abused him, and so he mentioned that.
Yeah. Jay,
Sean, this
where
prison
does
is
this end up?
known for this.
This prison in particular is known for this, yeah. Now, you're working with the attorneys
the Evin
there,
prison
Jay?
is one of the worst in Iran. Yeah, it's bad. And we've got, like I said, global pressure here, and I appreciate you bringing this to light tonight, because it's going to take global pressure to get this pastor released, this U.S. citizen, I should also say, released from an Iranian jail.
Well, we'll continue to monitor it, and I hope you can get him home, Jay, by Christmas. And, ma'am, thank you for being with us, and we wish you all the best, and you and your family. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. We are working aggressively on Pastor Abedini's behalf, and we're trying to help him and his family. To do that, here's what we need to do. We've got to get the European Union and the United Nations to start putting significant pressure on Iran to get his release. We also need to get global support from governments around the country, not just the United States, but governments literally around the world. To do that, we have started a petition to help gain his release. You can help save a life by signing on to this petition. You go to aclj.org, that's aclj.org. You can sign the petition there, or simply call us at 1-877-989-2255. That's 877-989-2255 or aclj.org. Saeed Abedini's life is literally on the line, and your name on that petition can save a life. That's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. Back with more in a moment.
On September 26, 2012, the Iranian government arrested American citizen Saeed Abedini. For the past 4 months, Saeed has been held in one of Iran's harshest prisons and been subject to abuse and torture. On January 27th, Saeed was sentenced to 8 years in prison, charged with threatening national security simply for sharing his faith in homes across Iran. Saeed has shown courage that few of us can comprehend. But now it's our turn to do all that we can. Tell his story, share his story, demand that Iran release him or return him to his family. Take action. Sign the petition to save Saeed from an Iranian prison. Help us collect 300,000 signatures so we can send that to the United Nations and the Council of Europe Commissioner for Human Rights. Just 100 signatures for every day that he'll be in prison. Your signature could save a life. Save Saeed. Please sign the petition at savesaeed.org.
Welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. Although this case broke first in the national scene in December, we'd actually have been working on the case since the initial arrest back in September. He actually was under house arrest in July, put in prison in September. We went public with the case right around Christmas time this past year because we realized the desperate nature of the situation. The Iranian regime was not moving for his release. The United States was very slow to respond, including our State Department. Jordan went on Hannity and a number of other radio broadcasts and television broadcasts as well to bring the issue to the national attention. And that's exactly what he did. Take a listen.
Well, for Christmas, this should be the most joyous time of the year, but one American family is spending the season fighting to get a pastor freed from prison. 32-year-old Reverend Saeed Abedini has been jailed in Iran since September. The Iranian-born Christian convert is American and was taken into custody while visiting his family in Iran. Now, the American Center for Law and Justice has teamed up with the family in the hopes of getting him released. Joining us now is Reverend Abedini's wife, Nagameh Abedini, and Executive Director of the American Center for Law and Justice, Jordan Sekulow. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Nagame, this is such a tough time for you because you would like to see your husband right here with you during this Christmas season. Tell me what efforts are underway now to get him returned home safely.
We've tried different, ACLJ can probably address this more.
Well, tell me if you can then, the emotional toll this is having on you and your family members here in the United States.
It's been very difficult. The hardest time was the first week when they took him from the house he was staying at, and we didn't know where he was, and just things that you don't never think about. I couldn't pick up the phone and tell him what the kids were doing, that our daughter had lost all her teeth. You know, she lost all 4 teeth while he was in prison, and just little things you realize as a wife you want to share with your husband, that you can't just pick up the phone and call. And the first week was very difficult. We didn't know where they'd taken him, and around that time there was a blogger that was also arrested and unfortunately tortured to death in Iran. So we didn't know if his health, he was even alive. And so it's been very difficult, and especially during Christmas time, there's a big hole in our family.
I understand. I know it's very difficult for you. So Jordan, let me go to you real quickly as Nagame deals with this. This is something that you've dealt with before when other Americans have been taken into captivity or into custody because of their Christian faith. What is that issue here?
This is a situation where you've got a 32-year-old, and again, people are seeing this different in the past. This is not a Iranian Christian pastor who is in prison that we are concerned about, that we're assisting. This is one of ours, an American Christian pastor with his American family here at home during the holidays, and he's been and the family's been tough. Nagme and the children there have been dealing with this since July, and we have been working with them, figuring out, Kelly, when is the right time, if any time, to take this public to try and help. You have to weigh a lot of different factors. And we did that because of the conditions, as Nagme was referring to, in these prisons. This is a prison where the sentence is only part of your punishment. Just being there is a punishment. And he's being vaguely charged with these national security offenses, which are the worst offenses to be charged with in Iran.
And Jordan, those national security offenses was for what? For being the pastor of a home church network, and then he said that he would no longer be the leader of that, but he would continue to try to help people in need?
For being a Muslim who became a Christian when he was 20 years old, and then, he's been coming back, but he does know these house churches. He had made an agreement. But again, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard had gotten involved, and Nagme knows this as well, for the first time since he's been going back and forth between Iran and the United States. But it is solely because he is a Muslim that became a Christian who is reaching other Muslims
to get him
in Iran.
Home? What can you do to get him home?
We have to speak out. And of course, with Nagme able to do the interviews, to be able to connect the family to all the viewers here for Fox News, who was the first news network in the country to put this story out there for us and for the family. That's how you do it. You raise your voices. Now our State Department, in a good move, has acknowledged this to the news networks as well, that they know about this. It's a tough situation. We had to make the call now. We have to hear from people calling their members of Congress, calling our government, and spreading the story. That is how other pastors and other Christian leaders have been released there, is because people took to Twitter after this interview and shared the interview later in the day or posted it to Facebook. That's how you can succeed in these cases, but it is very tough.
Jordan. But Nagame, before we go, I want to hear from you. If you could talk to your husband right now, or at least to the American people, what do the American people need to know about your husband?
He loved, more than anything, he loved Jesus, and he loved America, but he loved the Muslims. And that's why he wanted to continually go back and share the gospel with them, because that's what saved him. That's what changed his life, gave him hope. This is what this Christmas season is about. And he said, I might die sharing Jesus. But it is a difficult place, Middle East, sharing about Christ, unfortunately.
And because of that, what are you worried about?
People. I am worried about his health. He's been sharing in prison that he's been beaten, he's been abused because of his faith. And because he loves even those that are beating him so much, he wants to share him about what he found that changed his life and my life as well. And so we're very worried about his health. And we're praying that we can get him home quick.
As you can see by the interviews that we just completed, the fact of the matter is that this is an ongoing case, and it's difficult. It's difficult because we have to deal with foreign governments around the globe to mobilize the support. It's also difficult to communicate with our client. He does have an Iranian lawyer who we're in contact with, but the fact of the matter is getting information out of Iran, as you can imagine, is very difficult. The pastor did get a letter out. The contents of this letter are sobering.
When I heard that empty Christmas settings were placed during Christmas as a reminder of my imprisonment and those imprisoned for Christ, tears of joy filled my eyes. I was able to share about this with other prisoners, and they were shocked by the love and support we have for each other in Jesus. I told them how in the Bible we are all considered brothers and sisters, despite race, color, or nationality, and we are able to share in each other's pains. This comes from our Lord. The Word of God says that when we are persecuted for our faith, we are to count it all joy. When I think that all of these trials and persecutions are being recorded in heaven for me, my heart is filled with complete joy. The Bible says that the joy of the Lord is our strength. Without the joy of the Lord, we cannot live. It is this joy in our life that gives us strength to continue in this life. Without strength, we cannot continue the work of the Lord, and without joy, there is no strength. I always wanted God to make me a godly man. I did not realize that in order to become a godly man, we need to become like steel under pressure. It is a hard process of warm and cold to make steel. This is the process in my life today. One day I am told I will be freed and allowed to see my family and kids on Christmas, which was a lie. And the next day I am told I will hang for my faith in Jesus. One day there are intense pains after beatings and interrogations. The next day they are nice to you and offer you candy. These hot and cold days only make you a man of steel for moving forward and expanding His kingdom. I am looking forward to the day I can see all of you who are behind me with your prayers and to embrace you in my arms. Thank you for the love you have shown me. What is in us is stronger than what is in the world, and it has conquered the world. Pastor Saeed Abedini, in chains for our Lord Jesus Christ.
The letter speaks for itself. As you could hear the tone of what is said and what is written, this is a very critical situation, and we're actually at a critical juncture. And here's what we need everybody to do. We are setting a goal of 300,000 signatures to take to the European Union and to the United Nations. It's very important here to get global support. The United States does not have ongoing relations with Iran. We need to get global support for his release. We were successful with Youssef Nadarkhani because so many of you supported his cause by signing on to the petition. I want to encourage you to do exactly the same thing. Go to aclj.org. You can sign the petition there. It's really easy to do. Or you can call us at 1-877-989-2255. That's aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. The goal, 300,000 signatures to present to world leaders, to the United Nations, to the European Union, to the Council of Europe. Again, aclj.org or 877-989-2255. Back with more in just a moment.
On September 26, 2012, the Iranian government arrested American citizen Saeed Abedini. For the past 4 months, Saeed has been held in one of Iran's harshest prisons and subject to abuse and torture. On January 27th, Saeed was sentenced to 8 years in prison, charged with threatening national security simply for sharing his faith in homes across Iran. Saeed has shown courage that few of us can comprehend, but now it's our turn to do all that we can. Tell his story, share his story, demand that Iran release him or return him to his family. Take action. Sign the petition to save Saeed from an Iranian prison. Help us collect 300,000 signatures so we can send that to the United Nations and the Council of Europe Commissioner for Human Rights. Just 100 signatures for every day that he'll be in prison. Your signature could save a life. Save Saeed. Please sign the petition at savesaeed.org.
Welcome back to the broadcast, everyone. As the case has progressed, we found out eventually that there was going to be a trial, and the judge was called a hanging judge. These are not the words we came up with, as you're going to see in these upcoming reports. These are the words that even the European Union, who sanctioned this judge as a serial human rights abuser, called this judge the hanging judge. Take a listen.
He was arrested by Iranian officials more than 3 months ago on charges related to his religious beliefs. We understand that a hearing will be held soon, and we call on Iranian officials to respect Iran's own laws and provide Mr. Abedini access to an attorney.
Abedini supporters say during trial, his fate will be in the hands of Judge Abbas Pir Abbasi, a jurist with a reputation of being one of Iran's hanging judges. Following the 2009 elections in Iran, the judge handed out death sentences to several human rights activists. He's described as a shadowy figure. He never appears in public, and there are no known photos of the judge. In April 2011, the European Union named the judge as subject to personal sanctions because of his human rights violations. Pastor Abedini, meanwhile, remains steadfast and says he is prepared to hang for his faith in Jesus.
Now, the pastor's family says that he is missing.
His family, his parents and his siblings live in Iran. And since they raided their house and took Saeed to prison, they've also been on some kind of a house arrest, waiting for his trial, and also their own. And they have been able to see him every other Thursday to the prison visits, and I've been in contact with them. They're my family as well. So, yeah. And they weren't able to see him this Thursday, and the guards said he's not here, and they would not tell them where Saeed was.
It's been really since Monday that we knew Pastor Saeed was okay. He was in the trial. His lawyer was there. There was a second day of trials. He wasn't allowed to attend. Neither was his attorney. He didn't get the phone call Wednesday with his family. His family showed up yesterday that he wasn't there. Now it's Friday. The day's over in Iran. So it's a number of days to be missing when your judge has been labeled by the U.S. government as the hanging judge. But unfortunately, Bill, even with all of this, the U.S. State Department has still refused to call for his release and condemn Iran. And that is very important. I know it's tough for the U.S. government. They can't snap their fingers and solve this problem overnight. We don't have an embassy there. But for other countries around the world who do, they need some kind of guidance that, hey, the State Department, the top diplomats in the United States, and our Secretary of State thinks it's okay for us to really push for this pastor. Let's do so.
Well, the American pastor who is on trial for opening a network of churches in Iran has now been sentenced to serve 8 years in the country's most dangerous prison. This comes right after last week we heard that he might be released. Then they couldn't find him for a couple of days. This has been torture for his family. Naghmeh Abedini is the pastor's wife. This is her first TV interview since that verdict. Naghmeh, I can only imagine what went through your mind when you heard this sentence. What was your reaction?
It was devastating. There was glimmer of hopes that was falsely given to us, that he might be released. And to hear the 8 years, my kids will be teenagers. There's no chance of us going back and seeing him. At least on the prison visits, and the phone calls are cut off now. The kids won't even be able to hear their dad's voice. It just seems very devastating that not until they're teenagers, they're and toddlers right now, will they ever hear their dad's voice or see him.
I've got two pieces of breaking news, though, for you, Martha. First, his attorney has confirmed to AFP, which is great, the appeal will move forward. It's in the Revolutionary Court. The second piece of information, the statements yesterday, and I have to thank Fox News for tracking those down from the NSC and State Department about the conviction. We emailed them last night so that we could get those directly from them. We're the attorneys. We needed not necessarily a written statement professionally, but just to confirm every piece. We got this response back, and this underscores why it has been so difficult to work with this State Department and this NSC. They will say one thing to the press. What do they say to the people representing the family? Here's the email from Bernadette. She's the one quoted in the NSC. To clarify, the NSC has not released any written statements regarding Mr. Abedini's case. Both the comment that you sent and the comment we provided today were not written statements, but rather responses to inquiries from members of the press. Now, the headlines of the newspapers around the world today are the State Department condemns, the U.S. government condemns in a statement. So again, this shows me why am I so nervous about having a foreign government meet with me and then call the White House and say, what are you going to say? And they're going to say, we didn't say anything?
Terrible situation in Iran. 32-year-old Saeed Abedini, American father of two, Christian pastor, convicted of insurrection and sentenced to 8 years in a violent Iranian prison. Case is completely bogus, but once again, the U.S. State Department and the president seem powerless.
The thing is that the Iranian government is entirely unpredictable. It all depends on which way the political winds are blowing. Usually these prisoners, they hold them, the foreign prisoners, they hold them as hostages.
Would his family have any hope that there's anything the U.S. can do to help in this situation?
Well, we are deeply disappointed that Saeed Abedini has been sentenced to 8 years in prison in Iran on a charge related to his religious beliefs. Mr. Abedini's attorney had only 1 day to present his defense, so we remain deeply concerned about the fairness and transparency of his trial. We condemn Iran's continued violation of the universal right of freedom of religion, and we call on the Iranian authorities to release Mr. Abedini. As you know, the State Department is in close contact with the Abedini family and is actively engaged on this case. For further details, I think the State Department is the best place to go. We obviously have a variety of means, including this podium, to express our views on matters like this. We are very concerned about this and very concerned about the process that led to this. Thank you all very much.
Well, that's going to do it for this very special edition of our broadcast. And again, I want to encourage you to take direct action here. I want to be very specific. We need 300,000 signatures on behalf of Pastor Saeed Abedini. We're about halfway there. We're continuing to build momentum on this. We're continuing to build support. We need 300,000 because that number is significant enough that we can then get global attention at the European Union and at the United Nations. It's very important to get United Nations pressure. Believe it or not, the Iranian regime has signed on to various protocols and treaties at the United Nations, including the respect of human rights. Of course, they ignore this, but we can hold them accountable, and we could get this pastor released if you will be involved. We need you to go to aclj.org and sign that petition now, or call us at 1-877-989-2255. Now, every single signature helps. Your signature could be the one that saves the life of Pastor Saeed Abedini. So I want to encourage you, aclj.org. You can sign the petition online. It just takes a few moments. Or call us at 1-877-989-2255. Time is of the essence. Every day that goes by is another day of danger for this pastor. They actually call this prison hell on earth. aclj.org or 1-877-989-2255. Raise your voice for Pastor Saeed.
On September 26, 2012, the Iranian government arrested American citizen Saeed Abedini. For the past 4 months, Saeed has been held in one of Iran's harshest prisons and subject to abuse and torture. On January 27th, Saeed was sentenced to 8 years in prison, charged with threatening national security simply for sharing his faith in homes across Iran. Saeed has shown courage that few of us can comprehend. But now it's our turn to do all that we can. Tell his story, share his story, demand that Iran release him or return him to his family. Take action. Sign the petition to save Saeed from an Iranian prison. Help us collect 300,000 signatures so we can send that to the United Nations and the Council of Europe Commissioner for Human Rights. Just 100 signatures for every day that he'll be in prison. Your signature could save a life. Save Saeed. Please sign the petition at savesaeed.org.